Hi everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Adam Barlow, and today I'll be talking to you a little bit about how users authenticate into an organization that's secured by SAML. So we're going to be talking about SAML, why it's important, why you should be using it. We're going to look at a diagram to help describe some of the more complex workflows, and then we're going to round this out with two demos of user flow, one going through a GitHub means of accessing an organization, as well as an OKTA means. So what is SAML? SAML actually stands for a security assertion markup language. And all that means is this is a standardized format and protocol to send and receive assertions. Now, what is an assertion? It's essentially the bit of this call that says a person can access data or not access data. So that's done through an assertion. It's a generally a way for an identity provider like OKTA to communicate by means of a browser to a service provider, GitHub, saying if a person's okay to get that information or not. Now, why should every single customer be using SAML? And this is if this seems like a big differentiator between teams and enterprise, it's because it is, right? It helps minimize risk and helps organizations stay compliant. So if you're in a highly regulated industry like finance or health or what have you, it's extremely important because all of user information stored in one area. You can easily grant or revoke permissions based on users. And lastly, it helps with automatically managing access with SCIM. So you do need SAML to enact SCIM. All SCIM is if a user is a part of a team or a group within the IDP, that same permission set will be applied to a team inside of GitHub. So it's very nice. It's a great way for managing users. It's also really nice on the user perspective as well because it can save on password fatigue, so to speak. So this is what the diagram flow looks like. And if it looks a little bit intense, don't worry. We're going to go through this step by step. But as I mentioned before, there are three main actors. You have your identity provider, which is on the left. That's the IDP, OKTA in this case. You have your browser where a user first starts out with their call, right? This could be Chrome or anything like that, Firefox. And then they're trying to get access to the service provider, GitHub, right? So in the very first step, the authentication flow usually starts with a user clicking on a login button that since the web application is configured for authentication through SAML, it creates a SAML message known as the SAML authentication request. So as its name conveys, this message is then relayed back to the service, to the identity provider. So the authentication request is actually compressed into a base 64 encoded message that the user browser actually handles. So this is kind of like the middleman between all this stuff happening, and it's through an HTTP GET parameter. Now, upon receiving that authentication request, the identity provider verifies if that user is who they say they are. The user will then have to authenticate through the identity provider using their credentials. This is done through a login prompt as well. And then once successful, the identity provider then instructs the browser to make an HTTP post request through a URL to the service provider. So this is the response message. If you're following along, this is point number 5, right? So this service URL then again, it's compressed into a base 64 encoded message, and in the body it gives the thumbs up or thumbs down. The service provider digests that, and based off of that consumption, if it's true or false will give that user access. Now, this information can be stored as cookies. The way that GitHub does it is within 24 hours, their access will be revoked. So that's just another security measure. But let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like. So here I have a video that we'll kind of watch, but me as a user, I'm going to sign into a dummy account of mine. Oh, this isn't a dummy account, but it's my real account. Here, there's two-factor authentication, so we have to enter in our code, and once we verify, we're in our account, but we're not in the organization until I say sign into the organization. So this is where it sends the message off to the identity provider. Here's OKTA, and I'm gonna sign into my account. Now within OKTA, I have it's set up with two-factor authentication, so I have to send a push notification. In security, it's two-factor authentication is really helpful because it's not only what you know, it's what you have. So once I verify I am who I say I am, I can log in and access the organization. Now, this is what it looks like when a user accesses an organization through OKTA. So I'm already signed in, and I've already gone through the steps of authenticating myself and with the two-factor authentication and all that. But as soon as I click on the org, it logs me in. I'm already logged in through my GitHub profile. But if we kind of rewind here, you can see here it's OKTA is making that call to the enterprise org. It redirects us to the service provider, and it verifies that we are who we say we are, giving us access to the organization. So I hope you found this video helpful. If so, please let me know. I'll be creating more content like this based off of what you think would be helpful. So any feedback is good feedback. But thank you for your time.